Hello, Agemashite Omedetou. Happy New Year, everybody. It's the first day of January 2024. We made it. My name is Kurt, and this is my Good Life Meditation, an exercise that I do each and every morning, a little bit after waking up, to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I recommend the hardbound edition if you want a copy, and you can get one from the link down in the description. And I want to offer a special thanks to my supporters on Patreon and my members on YouTube. This video is made possible because of your support. No kidding. I mean, like this, in this book that I'm about to send out, that I'm illustrating to one of the supporters on Patreon, is because of you as well. Thank you so much. You really showed me the way in 2023, and I'm going to be executing in accordance with your support and guidance in 2024. It's a big deal that we've made it to 2024 for Yumiko and I. It feels like one life is truly, the curtain has begun to drop in earnest on that one life. In fact, so much so that one of the things on my list of things to do today is to make a photo. I'm going to make a video tour of the apartment. Every time Yumiko and I change homes, I always make a video tour to capture a snapshot of that home before we leave. I should have a playlist on YouTube. We've done that so many times. And in fact, I will. Maybe I'll do that. Old home. I'll add that to my list. Old home YouTube playlist. Because we're about to start taking this. I'm going to make this video because we're about to start taking this all apart. This life is ready to come to pieces. In fact, I've already, as usual, I've already started before I took the video. I've already given and thrown out some things that would have been otherwise in the tableau of our life. So 2024 is here. I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But first of all, let's read a poem, as I like to do at the start of these. We're going to turn back to Edward Thomas. We're going to read a poem of his called The Child on the Cliff, which I've never read before. Let's give it a try. I've got my vocabulary pen at the ready, although I need it less with Thomas than I do with Keats. The Child on the Cliff. Mother, the root of this little yellow flower among the stones has the taste of quinine. Things are strange today on the cliff. The sun shines so brightly, and the grasshopper works at his sewing machine so hard. Here's one on my hand, Mother, look. I lie so still. There's one on your book. But I have something to tell more strange. So leave your book to the grasshopper, Mother dear. Like a green night in a dazzling marketplace. And listen now. Can you hear what I hear? Far out. Now and then the foam there curls and stretches a white arm out like a girl's. Fishes and gulls ring no bells. There cannot be a chapel or church between here and Devon with fish or gulls ringing its bells. Hark! Somewhere under the sea or up in heaven, it's the bell, my son, out in the bay, on the buoy. It does sound sweet today. Sweeter I never heard, Mother. No, not in all Wales. I should like to be lying under that foam, dead, but able to hear the sound of the bell, and certain that you would often come and rest, listening happily. I should be happy if that could be. What a very pleasant and interesting and kind of hinting at profound poem. A child and his mother on a cliff overlooking the sea, the child being apprehended by this summertime weather, the fine weather, the grasshoppers and the wind, and the sound from the sea, the waves, and his mother distracted with her book, and the child's deep, almost profound thoughts of eternity, maybe, and the church bell, and the mother. This is where getting the first reading doesn't quite get it. I didn't realize the mother was going to speak, right? And I would have changed tone and had adjusted the poem reading a little bit. And the mother speaks up and says, that's just the bell out there in the harbor, out there in the bay, on the buoy. It does sound so sweet. And then the boy deep. Would love to hear that sound in death as I lay under the waves and knowing that Mother would come for me. Wow. I'll read this one again tomorrow, and I'll know better too how to adjust my speaking in the cadence and to adjust my tone for the mother's, what is the word for that? Ejaculation. Not that type. It really wasn't an ejaculative thought. It was an expression. Yeah, it wasn't. An ejaculative thought would have been one or hark. It wasn't that. She was just kind of expressing something, folding her book into her lap and expressing something more calmly. Her calm expression. Yeah. Coming back around. Now today, last night and yesterday. Slept good and deep last night. I went to bed. It was New Year's Eve. I never even attempt to stay up to midnight anymore. Although I did wake up when the fireworks went off, the gunshots maybe, at midnight. I had the window open just a little bit and noted them for just a second and a half, dozing slumber. And then I slept deep all night. I feel good. Got a good night's sleep. Deep, deep sleep, sleep of death. Always feel good after that. Hopefully those days of awful sleep have passed. Although they'll probably come back. My health is bound to begin to fail. I had maybe an hour and a half yesterday of really not feeling good. It's amazing how when the body decides it's not feeling good, the whole aspect and the whole tableau of my life just darkens with shade. And about an hour and a half, and Yumiko and I was able to brush that aside with a long, vigorous 3-mile walk with Yumiko and the dogs in the afternoon. I came back totally roused after that, so that was good. Yesterday was an interesting day. I got so much done. Take a look at the list. This is my to-do list for yesterday. And I had 18 items on the list. I did them all, except one, the swim. I didn't do an ocean swim. Although I did go to the ocean to do my book reading, and I had my swimsuit with me, but I decided not to because it was just too dangerous. The day before, I had been in the water on the similar side, big waves right now. And the ocean, literally, I jumped in the water, and the ocean literally wasn't letting me back. The current was pulling me out into big waves. And that scared me a little bit. And I decided to let it go. Although I really wanted to swim yesterday because it would have been day 100 and I would have been able to wrap up 2023 with 100 days of plunge in the ocean. But I didn't do that. I decided that it was an exercise in caution to be a little more careful. It would be a shame to drown just before I retire. So, be ashamed to drown, period. So it was good, but I had a nice time. Good. God has so much done. And I told Yumiko, I said, this is going to be key going into the new life, is to have a good, solid list of things to do every day. Because I do not rest. I never have, ever since I was a boy. I'm not one to sit on the sofa. I don't watch TV. I can barely sit long enough to read a book. I need to be walking and reading and moving and gyrating and keeping my body going all the time and always have things to do. And people sometimes suggest, I forgot to mark off this one. Sometimes suggest that that's a problem. It's not a problem for me. It may be perceived as a problem. For me, it's a feature, not a bug. It means I could use the word blessed with an abundance of energy to do just things from all day long. From the moment I wake up like that. A little not like that, like when I was younger. I really woke up like that. That was an ejaculatory wake up, right? That sounds even worse. But you know what I mean? And then I just go, energy all day long until I finally fall asleep. Gone. And I go to sleep early. I get up early, and I just go. And I like that. I really enjoy this way of life. So I need to embrace that that's who I am, and not try to adjust to some picture of settled, sober, restful, retired life. That's not going to be me. I'm going to be up early and doing stuff all day long, like that one farmer in that clip I uploaded last month, that grizzled old farmer up in the mountains in the heat of the summer, just going through. I don't know if you saw that one. That was a good little clip. I was checking out Suzumebachi, and he came over to see what's going on. Anyway, I digress. It was a good solid day yesterday, and a thoughtful day, and a reflective day, and a unique one. I had a good time thinking about the life to come and how we're going to live, and also making sure that we're living well in the time that remains, making the best use of our remaining time here in the United States. Because we don't want to neglect today in favor of a tomorrow that may never come. So try to work on both. It was a good day yesterday. All right, let's do the good life meditation. I'm going to linger on the objective called the Home of Good and Evil, which is, I think, number 4 or 5 in the principles. It's not an objective, it's a principle. The Home of Good and Evil, this is the Good Life Creed. Okay, so I'm switching from the review of yesterday to now the Good Life Creed, which are the 8 objectives and 35 principles in my book, Going Alone, in the chapter titled The Good Life. Before I list all of them, I'm going to extract out the one called the Home of Good and Evil. That's its title. And what do I mean by the Home of Good and Evil? The Home of Good and Evil is the principle that I use to identify that right and wrong, good and evil, if you like, reside as opinions in the mind of the agent who is living their lives. We can objectify them and say that there is some standard out there that we need to abide beyond ourselves. But in fact, there is no such standard other than whatever it is that promotes the well-being of thinking creatures, whatever allows us to continue surviving, to pass our genes on to the next generation. It's a very simple measure of success when it comes to biological life. It's the continuation of life and the procession of genetic integrity into another generation. So whatever does that constitutes the ambition of good, a well-lived life in a strict biological sense. Well, what about any other sense? Well, what other sense is there? All of it basically boils down to that in the end. And we can add meta concepts on top of that about what it means to be good and just and right and righteous even. But all of that is a superstructure upon that basic biological function. So it all boils down to living life in such a way that we can create families, create bonds with other people, create families, have children, raise them safely and securely to adulthood so that they can begin to have their own children, and then we can die and get out of the way. Good and evil then stem from that. And it gets messy because we then enact our ideas about how to enforce those things based on our prejudice and our bias and our limited understanding and our crude ways of enforcing best practices and requirements that we have for ourselves and others. It's a messy business, but basically it boils down to opinions in our minds that we form over the course of our lives and our upbringing that aren't any more substantive than that. And that's a good thing to remember. And I've said a lot now, and I don't know if I've maybe just muddied the waters, but that's a big thing to keep in mind on a going forward basis, because it means that our better execution, our better identification of right and wrong, and our execution of said justice in pursuit of those is up to us to the extent that we understand the world around us. The shortcut mistake that we sometimes make is to attribute such things to agency outside of ourselves, such as deity, which doesn't seem to exist. So saying that it's my God stipulates that thou shalt not do such and such, grants authority and weight and gravitas to such opinion that they don't deserve. And it also then elevates them above critical evaluation. No such opinion should be above criticism, or constant evaluation and reevaluation by ourselves and others. So I've said a lot here, but I'm trying to point out that the home of good and evil is here between our ears, in our skull, and the consequence of our life experience. And it's up to us to maintain the catalog of what we think is right and what we think is wrong up here, and then to reevaluate that and to be open to criticism and adjustment as needed. The mistake is to think that it comes from somewhere else, that it comes on from on high. The most on high that it could possibly come from is the consensus that is gained by our fellows and ourselves in deciding how we're going to operate as a community. That is something real as well, but even that is subject to a reevaluation, argument, and change. Wow. I feel like I said a lot there, but I think hopefully I got the point across. All right, let's recite the Good Life Creed. There are 8 objectives. These are the things I'm striving for, that I use the creed to achieve. 1 is to be always ready to die. 2, to make good and effective use of time. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5, to perform good actions. 6, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. 7, to do just one thing at a time, and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And 8, to maintain my balance. Now let's recite the 35 principles, and I'll keep tally. Let's see if I miss any. War, reason, homunculus, Anchorhold, home of good and evil. Purpose, atomic principle, nature, pirate ride, maturity, social principle, family, public speaking. Temperance, life will not go well. The horror show, that which must be born. The home of good and evil, that which must be born. That which must be born. The Feast of Offal, distraction, agency, and the great indifference. The best seat in the house. The restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, the risk of avoiding risk, sin and damnation, complete oblivion, the season of philosophy, the bullseye aim, script writing, the bullseye aim, the uphill climb, arena and utility, nothing is enough, the principle of fun, and being prepared. Let's count. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, got them all. Oh, I almost stumbled a couple of times. Oh, what's next? Today, what I'm going to do today. This is my to-do list for today. I've read the poem, and I'm completing the Good Life meditation now. So here's all the things I'm going to do that I finished already, and it's only 5:18 a.m. I'm going to read the Bible next. I'll be reading from the Gospel of Luke. Then I'll do my YouTube titles. I'm going to go through one last check of all the titles on my main channel to make sure that they're all updated. I'm going to do a bonus SP. Oh, I need to check some. I discovered some old videos that have some poetry and prose that I wrote that I need to make sure that it's in my journal. So I'll double check that. And then I'll do a house video. Then I'll do some reading. I'm going to continue reading from this book right here. I'm slow reading, but it's a really good book. It's The Billion Wicked Thoughts, about what Google search results tell us about human sexuality. Fascinating stuff. I wish I'd known this stuff earlier. Then I'm going to pay the rent if I can. It's the first I probably can't. And then old home YouTube playlist. Make that. Yeah, that's my plan for today. And I'll also throw in there 2 walks with the wife. We'll have lunch. We'll have dinner. We'll make it a good day. That's it. Oh, am I ready to die? 3 things to make sure I'm ready to die. Are my affairs in order? Yes. Are my relationships sound? Yes. Is my life's work complete? Yes. I'm done. Anything from this point on in my life is bonus, gravy, frosting on the cake. So yeah, I can die at any moment now without a single backwards glance. If that wave had indeed pulled me out 2 days back into the ocean, I could have If I realized I couldn't fight it, I could have just gone under without a single thought or regret. Or, well, I mean, sure, there's things I regret, but I mean, okay, again, that's a whole can of worms, right? Because that's a different thing. Sure, I can regret some things, and I can't go back and change them. But what I mean is, I have no unfinished business on the table. I'm not leaving any cards on the table at this point in my life. Everything is done. So saying dying without a single backwards glance is the right way to finish off things, the way to describe it. Now we'll see what happens when the time actually comes, especially if it's a long, lingering, painful death. I mean, I don't know how much resolve I've got. I don't know how much inner strength I really have. I don't know if that will bear me down, but I think our bodies have a way of dying that complements and facilitates a more graceful end, even if it means that the body simply pulls the rug out from under our feet. Find out eventually. All right, well, is that all complete on that sober, happy note? I wish you all the best, and Happy New Year again. Let's make 2024 the best ever. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care. I will move forward and up. I will rarely stop, and I will never